Pogba must channel inner Keane and Gerrard to prove Man United worth versus Liverpool. The spotlight will be on Cristiano Ronaldo as usual when Manchester United host Liverpool this weekend. To a certain extent it should be too, because the Portuguese icon remains pure box office and it's a privilege to see him back in English football once again. But just for once, wouldn't it be nice to see him upstaged by someone else in a United shirt when the scene is set for another superstar to deliver something befitting his status, reputation and ego? When was the last time Paul Pogba took a game by the scruff of the neck and did what great midfielders like Steven Gerrard and Roy Keane used to do on the biggest occasions? Could someone remind me, because I can't remember? Pogba might have rejoined United from Juventus back in 2016, but the truth is we are all still waiting for him to show up. Even now, after all these years, United supporters, and neutrals in general, are still grappling with more questions than answers when it comes to the French enigma. Questions like, what is his best position? Is he genuinely committed to United? Or when will he learn more discipline out on the pitch? There was something comically ironic about Pogba's decision to speak out on the recent troubles of United in the wake of last week's drubbing at Leicester. Pogba admitted something had to change if United were to challenge for the Premier League title this season. What sort of performance will Paul Pogba put in against Liverpool? Let us know your thoughts below. He's not wrong, but what might have escaped him is the fact that he might have to be part of the changes that are needed. In defense of Pogba, he was right to speak up because he is one of the team's senior figures and it's what supporters both want and need to hear. Yet Pogba remains part of the problem and not the solution because the Maverick is nowhere near consistent enough considering how much talent he has. How many times have we seen him underperform, then produce world-class showings for France when the international fixtures come around? If sharing a pitch with the likes of Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes doesn't inspire Pogba and bring the best out of him, then nothing will. He's approaching 29 and should be at his peak, for goodness sake. In fact, if anything, the return of Ronaldo has taken the pressure of him because he's no longer the center of attention, but perhaps this is part of the problem. It's damning on current boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and those previous managers who have worked with Pogba that his role in the side has still not been defined to such an extent that in certain quarters, some people believe the midfielder shouldn't even be picked at all. All of these circumstances, combined with the constant backdrop of him appearing to want out of Old Trafford, have become tedious in the extreme now. Pogba owes United a huge performance against their most bitter rivals, but no one should be holding their breath. Like his haircuts, Pogba is impossible to predict. Some Newcastle supporters should be ashamed of how they've treated Steve Bruce. Bruce was never going to win anything with Newcastle, but he did the job his bosses asked of him and kept them in the top flight. He did the best he could with what he was given. But more importantly, he did so with good grace and dignity, despite being written off from day one by some people before having to endure a tsunami of criticism and abuse that crossed the line. Bruce should look back on a long and successful career as both a player and manager with huge pride because he's been a credit to his profession and English football in general. But when it comes to Newcastle, all he will reflect on is how the abuse that rained down on him so relentlessly from people from his home city left him so disillusioned that he wanted to turn his back on the game altogether. The one saving grace might just be that at least his parents were no longer alive to hear it, but how pitiful and sad is that? His wife and children have been, though, and while critics are entitled to express their opinions, of course, when these start affecting someone's personal life then something has to be done. We